Hey, what's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here. This is the next episode for Classic Albums Revisited, and this is going to be on an album that is different, both musically and from the artist. And for this review, I'm wearing the t-shirt that you've never seen before in any of my videos until now for this review. So this is going to be on an album that I absolutely cherish, and this is, in my opinion, one of the must-have and crowning achievements in music history, period. Not from this genre alone, but from history, period. And this is going to be on the John Coltrane album entitled A Love Supreme. I always think that A Love Supreme is Coltrane's best achievement for so many reasons. And it's not a long album, it is 33 minutes, but it's 33 minutes of some of the most beautiful, incredible and phenomenal sounding jazz music ever recorded. And John Coltrane, everybody knows who he was and still is to this day, a very iconic figure in jazz music. He had made so many other albums throughout his career, and he had been playing and recording music with the other greats, from Miles Davis, who I admire the most in jazz, Duke Ellington and Don Cherry, and so many others. But once you'll hear that signature sound from the saxophone playing, you'll immediately know that it's Coltrane. And although Ornette Coleman is another really important artist when it comes to jazz and saxophone playing, but John Coltrane means the most to me in that type of way. So as much as I still think Miles Davis is the best, I think John Coltrane is as legendary as Miles Davis. If you want to get into some of John's earlier stuff, I recommend the classic Blue Train, My Favorite Things, which was another one of his most popular and successful albums, another one of my favorites, Ballads, and maybe some of the other stuff. But when Coltrane made this album and a few more from the later albums, including this album, Ascension, and others like Interstellar Space, Coltrane went into a more free jazz, avant-garde, spiritual type of direction. And this is probably the kind of era from Coltrane that I would stick to the most. I mean, some of his earlier stuff is outstanding, amazing stuff, but I like to hear some of Coltrane's more challenging and noisier sounding pieces of music that he had been recording over the years. The album starts off on a very gentle note on the track Acknowledgement, and once you hear the pieces of the saxophone playing from John and the cymbals, and once you hear the opening bass line, the instrumentation starts very smooth and soft. And when Coltrane plays along with his backing group of different musicians, the whole album just goes from being soft to, at some points, loud and aggressive. And it is some really strong, tight stuff. John's playing throughout this entire album can be quite melodic in places, but then when he improvises, there were some points throughout the entire album where he goes off into these really fiery improvisational solos. The other three musicians that have worked so perfectly with Coltrane for this album, McCoy Tyner on the piano, Jimmy Garrison on the bass, and the monster Elvin Jones on the drums. Those other three musicians were extremely talented, and they worked the instrumentation with Coltrane so strongly from start to finish. I really do love the piano sound from McCoy Tyner's playing. The sound from the piano is just so gorgeous and really sublime, and whenever I hear those chords, it's just soothing to hear. The bass playing from Jimmy was straight to the point. He never missed a single note, and I love the sound of his bass playing too. But Elvin Jones, as a drummer, not only when he played with Coltrane, but as a drummer entirely, his playing was just really monstrous, and some of his fills were just insane. And another jazz drummer legend, definitely another one that you check out, is Jack DeJohnette. Now he's an insane drummer, but Elvin Jones, from what he did with this album and some of Coltrane's later stuff, extraordinary. He makes these beats that is like very, very tight. The beginning of the track Pursuance, I might have mispronounced that, I'm so sorry, or Pursuance, he starts off on that really crazy, frantic drum solo, and then the musicians just continued the song from there. He is definitely one of my favorite drummers of all time. And the last track finishes the album off with a deeper, moodier kind of sound. And it is a perfect way to finish off an album like A Love Supreme. And the whole album, just from beginning to end, when it starts off beautifully, and then as it continues, becomes more louder and aggressive, and then closes things down on a softer note. That is just insane to really think about a group of musicians like these guys to make music in that kind of direction. And A Love Supreme is still, to this day, hugely celebrated, and I will always cherish this album for all eternity. If you want to check out this album for yourself, do it, because you are in for a real treat, and I really mean that. It really got me into jazz, along with kind of Blue from Miles Davis, and it just took off from there for me. So that's pretty much all I've got to say about A Love Supreme by John Coltrane. Just everything about it, from the production, which was very, very great, to the musicianship that was so free, wild, and just incredible. Musicians themselves, everything about it is just perfection, right from the start to the end of the album. So that's really all I've got to say about A Love Supreme by John Coltrane. I strongly recommend this album to you guys, and I cannot recommend it enough. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.